Hi Scorpio, it's Denise with Divine Soul Astrology and welcome in. Today we have a video for the nodes being squared by Uranus. All right, so this is going to be for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising, and it is an event. And right now the nodes are being squared by Uranus. Yes, they are. But it'll move into a perfect square on June 12th. I have it right here. And I have you right here on the ascendant, so you can see the chart a little more clear. And so on June 12th, it will come into a perfect square, and Uranus, the south node here and the north node right here, will all be at 2 degrees. So Uranus is already bringing change and innovation and disrupting our lives in some way because it wants to bring innovation or independence, autonomy, things like that. So it wants to break down old structures and old outdated beliefs, even about ourselves and about society and all kinds of things. But Uranus is here and it's going to be there for 7 years. I have a video on that if you would like to see that for your sign. All right. But with this 2 degree configuration for each, here's the planet Uranus, and then these are the nodes. These are the lunar nodes, and they are not planets, they are points in the sky. But when we have this configuration and we have each one at 2 degrees, that's a six. And a six is a recognition of something. And that's what Uranus is going to make us, and squaring these nodes are going to make us recognize something in a big way, that something needs to change. All right. Uranus alone in Gemini can indicate, we're changing the way we think, right? And Uranus represents also the collective, right? It is associated with Aquarius, which is can be social change, like-minded people in groups that we kind of, identify with, or groups that we might, support. And also its future. Aquarius is always future oriented, right? That's why songs have been written. The song Aquarius from the 60s, because I believe Pluto was in Aquarius then. I don't remember the exact, but right now Pluto's in Aquarius now. And so, which is the whole thing about that song and everything was about harmony for the people and power to the people because Pluto represents power. So here we have the nodes. Let's stay on track here and not get on a different subject, right? But the squares are challenging us to make an adjustment in our lives. The South Node is what we need to move away from. It's associated with lack or things that limit us, that we can already do it so well, but we're not growing or it's limiting us, right? It's also associated with family lineage, can be past lives even. And, some of us, I'm not going to say a lot of us, but, past lives, sometimes we carry the same pain or the same kind of there's another word besides pain, but we carry those wounds, whatever, from the past, right? If our grandmother suffered in a way, sometimes we think we have to suffer the same way, which is not true, right? But um, yeah, so the South Node is associated with that. It is associated with what we need to move away from, all right? Because we want growth, right? And think of the South Node as a purse here. It's like baggage, you're holding it. And these little circles at the top are the handle, basically, and right? And here's the North Node in Pisces. So the North Node is our soul's mission. It's where we want to go. It is fate and destiny. It is our true potential, our higher calling, our higher purpose. That is the North Node. Now, everybody's going there, whether or not they know it or not. It's funny. But they are consciously or unconsciously, right? So we're being led there, we're being called. And the square is doing that kind of like, hey, the square is really calling us, right? Now, the nodes are changing in July 26th, I believe, of this year. And they stay in a sign for about 18 months, which is the prenatal time period that the eclipses work on, right? In other words, if 18 months before an eclipse or your birthday, there's this period here um, where everything is set for us and everything can be set for us in our lives, right? And this is where we free will come in, and co-create with the universe, right? But the axis right there, and I'll talk about that in another video in more length. But the axis here is in the health axis, right? Virgo represents the physical health, and Pisces represents the mental or the emotional health, or we can even say spiritual health. Yeah. So what the opposition is trying to do, there is an opposition, an ongoing opposition. No, it is not showing up here, but it is always there because they're in opposite signs and they're at the same degree as each other. So in this health axis that we have going on, we're moving more toward we can say one way to say this is we're moving more toward spiritual health. And so Virgo is the practical and grounding. Yeah. And the opposition here wants us to merge the grounding and the practical methods or, attitudes of Virgo with the more go with the flow, intuitive and imaginative aspects of Pisces. We want to merge them. We don't want to be too rigid. Sometimes, the South Node in Virgo can talk about us being rigid. And it's in your 11th house of social change or like-minded people groups that you like to kind of support, and also friends. And it's the South Node is in your house of the future right there. So there's something you're leaving behind so you can move forward much more easier into your future. That's what we're being kind of pushed to do. What's happening with the energy here is that the energy will trigger us to move in a certain direction where we feel we can no longer avoid it, and then everything can fall into place. That is the point of the square, really, with to the nodes. All right. So that 11th house, and there it is in Virgo. And Virgo is associated with health, as I was saying. But Virgo is also, when I say rigidity, it can talk about I need to be perfect, or that I have to redo this, I have to rethink it, and let me, reanalyze it, right? Because Virgo wants things to be refined, and so it's asking us to move away from this perfection, and but don't lose it entirely. Like stay grounded and go with the flow and your imagination. Pisces wants us to trust in our dreams. That's what it wants. It wants us to trust in our imagination and that our dreams really can come true, our visions, all right? So that's where the North Node is right now. And the North Node is in your fifth house. And this is the house of love and sex. It's the house of wherever you create your self-expression and how you express yourself to the world. That is that. It is your talents, creative pursuits, and so also about children because they are associated with procreation, right? Now, it's also your house of fun and entertainment and gambling. It's also the house of recreational activities. All right. So, but that house there with the North Node there, it's asking you, I believe, Scorpio, in your fifth house of your self-identity, it's asking you to be more authentic with yourself. It's asking you to move toward your dreams and your visions and go for it and trust your flow. Trust your flow. Don't be stuck back here. Because the South Node in the 11th house can be very hindering for the future. Yeah, it can. So, and you could be moving away from groups of people that don't you no longer identify with. That's what the square could be pushing you to do. You could be moving into a whole new group of friends, and maybe you've grown and you've completely changed, right? So yeah, and the thing about Uranus or Uranus is that once we go with or we accept, there's an acceptance here. It's trying to push us to accept. Once we accept, then things become much more easier, right? Yeah, and think of it as this: these squares are boxes, right? Squares are a box, and so the square here is like, come on, think outside of the box, and that's exactly what Uranus is doing over here. Now, Uranus uh, is also in Mercury, and this is ruled by Mercury, and so is your 11th house of the future. A lot of Mercury here. So Mercury is your mind and your decisions, your thoughts. So it's your thinking. So that's what it wants us to do here. It wants us to think about the future and where we've already been. That's fine, but we don't have to stay there. Okay, so And the North Node in Pisces, Pisces is, about dreams and things like that, things that we really can't see. And it also rules the hidden, right? As it rules the 12th house. Now, Pisces ruling your fifth house is very creative, it's compassionate. Maybe you want to move toward people who are more compassionate, maybe more spiritual. Pisces rules the spiritual dimension. Uranus can as well. Where's Uranus? Right here. But um, I thought I was going to say about this, the North Node in Pisces. Yeah, it will come. I feel like it will. Um, yeah, and this is happening until the 12th or around the middle of October, all right? So Uranus, or not Uranus, but Mercury is in Cancer at the time. And the Cancer is rules your ninth house of growth and expansion. So with this change, there's going to be more growth, more expansion for you. And you're being asked to think about that. Here's Mercury, right? In your ninth house. This is your house of wisdom and culture and faraway lands and kind of being worldly, education as well. It is your house of higher purpose. Yeah, the ninth house. And Jupiter's there. Jupiter's loves to be there because that is Jupiter's house. Jupiter is ruling your fifth house of creative, your creative self-expression, asking you to be so authentic, move into your talents potentially, like I said. And Jupiter rules Sagittarius, your second house of values, money and possessions and material comfort. That is that house. It's also your house of self-worth. So the nodes are really kind of helping us to do that. Yeah, Jupiter is, yeah, in that ninth house. So very beautiful Scorpio. And we'll talk a little bit here before we kind of go. And when this happens, the sun will be in your eighth house of transformation. I didn't mention this, but Uranus is in your eighth house of transformation. That's a big deal because you are the natural ruler of the eighth house. Yours is ruled by Mercury. When I talk about the natural chart, which always starts with Aries, but we have here Uranus, the sun is being ruled by Mercury as well. You see that? And the sun is making an opposition here to actually to, Sagittarius, your second house of values. And the sun and this second house, which is ruled by Jupiter. Remember, Jupiter is ruling the north node of where you want to go, your higher purpose, things like that, your soul's mission. This is what your soul wants for you. Um, right? So it's opposing the sun right there, is opposing that Lilith, and this is the shadow. So there's something that you're most likely releasing the shadow, or it's asking you to release, or at least see it. The sun wants you to see things clearly, right? Um, and Mercury is the ruler of so much in the chart here today. And Mercury wants you to understand, right? It is the mind. So there's something here that you're going to be, that there's opposition to Lilith, something about your shadow that you kind of need to accept and face and just, and, move above it, right? Rise above it. And we all have it, right? We all have that. In fact, it's right now, it's in my first house in Sagittarius. So Mars, your ruler, is in your seventh house of partnerships. This is your house of, romantic and business partnerships, any type, how you create harmony and balance in your life. That's where Mars is. So the focus may be there as well, all right? How you create harmony, inner harmony as well. That is the house also of opponents. And you look at, you are moving away from certain groups of people over here with the South Node in your 11th house, right? This is your house of opponents and also, judicial matters and things like that. But Mars is there, um, right, as the sun is in Gemini on June 12th. And Mars rules your first house, of course, but Mars rules Aries as well. And here we have Aries in your sixth house of work. And this is the house of wellness, though, as well, because it's your house of health and wellness. And there is, Virgo and both Pisces have to do with that. So this is also your house of service and work, um, and then your daily routine. Something, your life's going to be changing, Scorpio. So thank you so much for joining me here. And if you liked my content, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the little bell. You'll be notified of my next upload. If you'd like a reading with me, my website is, it is below. And the Zoom's making me look funny here, right at the top of my head. But yeah, if you want to check out my website, I have all kinds of great readings over there. They're all for growth and transformation. Yeah, they are. And they really show a lot. So thanks so much, you guys, for joining me here. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.